Nothing quite prepares you for just how terrifying normal life can be after someone dies. Losing Dad was the hardest thing that I've ever had to go through, but going from seeing him every single day, feeding him, washing him, getting him dressed, giving him his medication for a month solid, and then suddenly it stops. And there's nothing that I can say that will ever prepare somebody else for what it's going to be like and what that particular feeling will be like. And the ironic bit is, before Dad died, my uncle said to me, after this is all said and done, you'll feel so much. And a lot of that is going to be anger. And a lot of anger will come from the question, how can people go about their normal lives when I've just lost my dad? And sure enough, the following morning, having slept for probably about 13 hours, it was just a Friday. And it was just a day that I had to get through, and the next day and the day after that. And I'm feeling this anger, but also the guilt of feeling a bit of relief. Because I didn't want Dad to suffer. I'm glad that he's at peace now, but at the time, I just couldn't deal with that part of it all, and I cried. A few more, like here and there in the days afterwards, but there was also no time to do that because I had to tell everyone that he was gone, and I had to arrange his funeral. And the more I said it, the more I said Dad passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family, the less it actually seemed real, because I was just repeating the same thing over and over again. And it didn't bring any comfort to me. So the only thing that I did when I talked about him is I was trying not to say that he passed away or something, that I didn't want to say anything that made it seem more okay than it was, because the fact is he's dead. And he died a month after his diagnosis, and he was taken from us, and he was taken from me, and I was furious that that was even allowed to happen. So I flipped back into pragmatism mode. I went with Tash and I bought a suit. I was trying it on, and I went with a navy blue suit instead because it was Dad's favorite color. And I'm standing there in this shop in this lovely suit, nice shoes, nice tie, and I look good. And then it just hits me again that I'm getting dressed for my father's funeral. He was gone, and I'm still here, and I would have to continue the rest of my life without him. And all of the things that he wouldn't get to see me do, and one of those things would be trying on a suit for my wedding. I'm going to have my family pictures taken on my wedding day, and my dad won't be in them. So after that, I had to go and continue doing all of these things when someone dies. So I collected his death certificates. I met with funeral directors. I chose what he wore. And I chose to cremate him in a rugby top that he'd had since I played rugby almost 20 years ago, which he wore every other day, and it had his name on it. I thought he'd like that. The funeral itself was perfect, or as perfect as a funeral can be, and there were so many people there. But the whole day, it was like I couldn't feel the things that I was supposed to feel. I was trying to be stronger for everybody else and not be dramatic. And I remember my dad saying, when his mum died, he was proud of the fact that at her funeral, he didn't cry. And I kept thinking about that. And I kept thinking, is that what he would want me to do? Would he have wanted me to stay more stoic and stronger than everybody else? Maybe. And obviously that's wrong. Like it's wrong because I wasn't able to express myself, but that was something that I couldn't shake. And so I didn't cry the whole day. I didn't cry at all. And I actually joked about him and I laughed and I spent a lot of time laughing. And I heard some great stories from his friends and people who I never met, or people who the last time they saw me, I was in short trousers and was about 6 years old. But it was the strangest feeling because even now, it feels like that day just didn't happen. It was more like I dreamt it than actually experienced it. And then the day after the funeral, it just go back to normal. You go back home and you start thinking about paying your bills, going back to work. And it's like the last month never even happened. And I think the weirdest thing for me since he's passed is there comes a moment where the grief, the depression, the whatever it is that you're feeling, it becomes a nuisance. And it becomes a nuisance to other people. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks after his funeral, I actually got a message from a friend and it said, "Hello, mate. I hope you're feeling better." And I laughed. I read it over and over again. Am I feeling better? What the fuck are you talking about? My dad is dead. He just died. Of course I'm not feeling better. What the fuck are you saying? And I got really angry because should I not be feeling like this? Has enough time passed that I just need to be fine now? But at the end of the day, grief takes time. And that amount of time it takes is up to you, is up to the individual. And that day, I was not over it. And the day that these videos go live, it will be my 33rd birthday, and it's been 2 months since he died. And I'll be honest, I'm not okay. I don't know what to do without my dad. I still talk to him every day. I tell him what I'm up to, what my plans are. I tell him I miss him. I tell him I love him. I read the text messages that we would send to each other, and it makes me smile and it makes me laugh that the last text that he sent me was Big Mac and fries, please. He told me to make something about all this. And that's what I'm doing. This is where I begin to figure out what my life is like after his death. And as I said in his eulogy, I will be okay. I also just want to take a moment and say that there are a lot of things that I haven't spoken about. There were a lot of nights where I was having panic attacks, not being able to eat or drink or shower. There's a lot here that I'm unpacking on my own, but also in therapy. But the point of all of this series, is to really express what we went through. And I hope that no one ever has to go through something like this, whether they've lost someone to cancer or is in the process of caring for someone with a terminal illness. I really do. I hope that never happens. But in reality, from my experience, I have learned that all we have to do is remember that at the end of a person's life, there are so many people that are left behind. And it's going to take time to move past the pain and instead think of life as fleeting and something to be treasured. I hope, for my own sake, that this is the catalyst for me being able to jump back into the thing I love, which is creating things for others to enjoy. And if you made it to the end of this series, then thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for listening to my dad's story. Cool. That's it.
Very nice. Lovely. Very, very
That's it.
nice.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh.
Good job.
Oh.
I appreciate that. Brilliant.
Thanks, man. Hey. What did? Thanks, man.
That is a thank you. God right here and let me do this is
Yeah. Well, I've got to put it all together and listen to myself, so we'll feed.
everyone's favourite thing, your own voice.
Yeah, always.
The fun part.
Fuck cancer.